In this lecture, we're going to very quickly go through this long laundry list of different teams that may be involved in your privacy program's success. For the exam, it's unlikely that you're going to need to regurgitate this full list. I think what's more likely is that you may have to identify how these different teams have equities in the success of your privacy program. I'm not going to read through the full list here. Instead, we're just going to go through these at a very high level, one by one. So when it comes to learning and development, one thing that a privacy program often does is provide training and awareness. And later in the course, we have at least one full lecture that's devoted to that topic. And so this is something that we're going to come back to. In short, the objective of a learning and development team or of your training and awareness is to change bad behaviors and reinforce good behaviors. And often what you're teaching in these situations is the operationalization of policies and processes. Again, we have a full lecture that's devoted to training and awareness later, and so we're going to come back to this topic. Communications. This team is often going to be responsible for posting some content on your organization's intranet. They may also provide regular communications emails, such as in the form of a newsletter, and they help to boost the organization's engagement with a particular topic. Information security, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. This business function is often most closely aligned with privacy, and they're going to help implement a lot of privacy tools, such as DLP or data loss prevention, encryption, strong passwords, role-based access, etc. And when it comes to assessing privacy controls, your team, your privacy team, may be working very closely with the IT or cybersecurity team when it comes to control assessment. Alongside the information security or cybersecurity team is going to be the more general IT team. This team is going to be responsible for developing and testing software. They're going to be setting group permissions. For example, which business functions need to access which types of data or which data repositories. They're also going to help preserve the need to know for data access. IT teams that are developing and testing software are also going to be responsible for incorporating privacy by design principles into the system's development. For example, by practicing or implementing data minimization. Your IT team may also be doing things such as issuing company laptops or devices such as smartphones, and they may also be doing something with the organization's network as well. An internal audit team is going to assess privacy controls. The same team may also assess security controls. And they're also going to help to develop or they're going to implement a specific framework that monitors the implementation and efficacy of policies and controls. The procurement team is likely going to support privacy and legal with any due diligence. If there's a privacy vendor or a certain type of privacy technology that you would like to procure, then they would help with the due diligence of that organization. Procurement is also going to help with third-party contracts and include the appropriate language. For example, if a contractor is going to be developing a system that will collect and process your organization's data, then you're going to want to make sure that that contractor incorporates into the contract the language necessary to protect that personal data. Human resources, this is pretty straightforward. We want to make sure that they are appropriately handling employee data. And if your product or if your service is not collecting data from members of the public, at the very least, your organization is going to have data on your colleagues. And a lot of this data can be very sensitive. If someone requires a medical accommodation, if they need regular medical treatment, if there's a background investigation in order to be employed by your organization, then your organization is going to be holding on to a lot of sensitive data that I'm sure the data subjects would want appropriately safeguarded. The Ethics and Compliance Office may handle whistleblower investigations and complaints. The marketing and advertising team, as you would imagine, would deal with marketing and media-related data. Business development and strategy may be looking at privacy as a competitive differentiator. The finance team, if they're holding on to financial data, such as account numbers, credit card numbers, etc., chances are good that they're going to be held to the PCI DSS standards. Depending on whether or not your organization is publicly traded, the finance organization may also be responsible for complying with the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. And I would remember this act, or at least the summary of it here. I can imagine this act being a sneaky test question. And what this statute does is it protects investors by improving the accuracy and liability of corporate financial disclosures. And of course, the finance team is going to need to be aware of and compliant with other financial regulations. The legal team, as you'd imagine, would need to maintain knowledge on privacy laws and regulations. When it comes to risk management, this would include data protection that is compliant with an enterprise risk management framework. Data governance is a framework of processes, policies, and practices that an organization puts in place to manage its data assets. And we have a full lecture at the beginning of Domain 3 that is going to talk more about data governance. And finally, when it comes to product research and development, if you are developing IT systems that are going to be collecting, processing, sharing, maintaining personal data, then this team, likely in cooperation with the Privacy Office, is going to be performing privacy impact assessments, incorporating privacy by design and privacy by default principles, and consulting with your office with regards to new product development. And there we go. There's our laundry list of different teams throughout your organization that may be involved with privacy. Again, I think it's very unlikely that you would need to regurgitate from memory this very long list. Instead, I think what's most likely is that you need to identify how these teams throughout your organization would interact with privacy.